I'm a bellman at a hotel in Kyoto, been here 9 years. Last month this American woman marches up to our front desk manager, demanding to speak with him about workplace discrimination. She's furious because I bowed deeper to him than I did to her when she arrived. She tells him she's filing a complaint about me treating staff differently than guests, says she saw me treating my boss like royalty, while I only gave her a regular bow. My manager tries explaining seniority customs, but she cuts him off. In America, we fought a revolution to end this kind of stuff, she announces, loud enough for the entire lobby. Your employee clearly doesn't understand that all people deserve equal respect. She pulls out her phone, starts Googling labor rights violations in Japan, shows him an article about American workplace equality laws. My manager bows apologetically, a shallow bow, probably trying not to trigger her further, and she actually lectures him about accepting his own oppression. You're perpetuating the system, she tells him, dead serious. I run a small tailoring shop in Jaipur, my father ran it before me. American couple comes in, wants traditional outfits made for a wedding they're attending. The wife asks about pricing, I quote her the standard rate, then her husband interrupts. Why'd your tone change just now, he asks. I'm confused until he clarifies. You were all casual with us, but when that older guy walked in, you got all formal and respectful. I explain the gentleman is a retired professor. It's simply proper to show respect to elders. The husband frowns, says that back home treating people differently based on age is literally discrimination. His wife nods enthusiastically, tells me about their egalitarian society, where a CEO and a janitor are treated exactly the same. She seems proud of this. I try to move on, show them fabric samples, but the husband's stuck on it. What if we told you we believe everyone deserves identical treatment? He says, like he's offering enlightenment. I tell him that's very progressive, then he tips me exactly the same amount he'd tip a Michelin star chef. Because equality, he explains. My cousin manages a luxury resort in Phuket, I work security there. This American family checks in, teenage son immediately starts calling staff by their first names, including the hotel director who's visiting from corporate. Director doesn't mind, very understanding about cultural differences, but the kid takes it further. During dinner he waves the director over to their table, asks him to grab them extra napkins. The director smiles, says he'll send someone, but the kid protests. Why can't you do it? You work here, right? The father backs him up, launches into this speech about how in America nobody's above fetching napkins, everyone's equal. Director politely explains he's actually there to review operations, not serve tables, and the father gets indignant. That's elitist, he declares. My son was taught that no job is beneath anyone. The mother joins in, says they specifically raised their kids to treat the CEO the same as the cleaning crew. The director excuses himself, probably wondering what manual labor task they'd assign the prime minister. I teach at a university in Seoul, been here 12 years. American exchange student shows up to department meeting, sits in the chair reserved for the dean. I quietly gesture that perhaps another seat would be better. She asks why. I explain it's the dean's customary seat, positioned at the head of the table. She stares at me like I'd suggested blood sacrifice. Reserving chairs for authority figures is literally feudalism, she states, doesn't budge. When the dean arrives, he graciously takes another seat, but she's unsatisfied with this outcome. After the meeting she corners me, wants to know why we're perpetuating hierarchies instead of embracing true democracy. I mention that respect for teachers and elders is fundamental to Korean culture. She cuts me off. Respect should be earned, not given based on age or position, she says, pulls up TED Talks about flat organizational structures. She's 20, lecturing me about a culture I've lived in my entire life. Then she asks if the dean would be offended if she started addressing him with casual pronouns instead of formal ones, to break down barriers. I suggest maybe not testing that theory. My brother runs a government office in Singapore, handles visa applications. American man comes in, starts chatting with my brother like they're old friends, asks about his weekend plans, his kids' names. My brother's polite but maintains professional distance, which apparently offends the guy. "Why are you being so cold?" he asks, genuinely hurt. My brother explains he's simply maintaining appropriate professional boundaries. The American shakes his head, says back home he's on a first-name basis with his own senators, drops by their offices for coffee. "That's how democracy works," he explains like he's educating a child. "Public servants serve the public, which means we're all on the same level." He actually says this while applying for a visa to temporarily reside in our country. My brother tries redirecting to the application, but the guy wants to discuss governance philosophy. He explains that in America, even the president is just another citizen, treated no differently than anyone else. My brother, who once had to submit a formal written request just to schedule a meeting with a minister, nods along silently. The guy then asks if he can call our Prime Minister's office directly to expedite his application, sees no contradiction. I work the reception desk at a medical clinic in Mumbai, family practice. American woman brings her child in for a routine checkup, gets assigned to our senior physician who's been practicing 40 years. After the appointment, she complains that the younger doctors in the hallway didn't greet her the same way the senior doctor did. I'm baffled until she explains. The senior doctor introduced himself with his full credentials and title, while the younger doctors just smiled and nodded in passing. "Why the different treatment?" she demands. "Do they think they're better than us regular patients?" I try explaining that the senior doctor was her assigned physician, the younger doctors were simply being respectfully unobtrusive, but she's not having it. She informs me that in America, medical professionals treat all patients identically regardless of appointment status. "Everyone gets the same level of engagement," she says proudly. I wonder how American doctors handle hallway traffic if they're supposed to provide equal comprehensive greetings to everyone they pass. She then requests that next time she be seen by the youngest doctor available, to prove a point about merit over seniority. The clinic's been running successfully for 35 years with its current system, but apparently needs her input. I'm a clerk at a courthouse in Manila, process documents all day. American tourist comes in needing paperwork authenticated, gets visibly uncomfortable when he sees people letting a judge cut to the front of the lunch line in our building's cafeteria. He asks me about it later, seems distressed. Why do people just let him skip, he wants to know. I explain the judge didn't skip, people respectfully yielded their place as a courtesy. The American looks horrified, starts talking about how in American courthouses judges wait in line like everyone else, emphasizes this like it's a point of national pride. Equality under the law means equality everywhere, he announces. I mention that the judge also yields to elderly people, pregnant women, anyone who might need accommodation. This confuses him. So it's not about position, it's about need, he asks, trying to logic it out. I tell him it's about both respect and consideration, and he furrows his brow like I'd presented an impossible equation. He then shares his theory that any society with visible hierarchy is one bad leader away from tyranny. I work in a functional democracy that's had peaceful transitions of power for decades, but he's worried about our lunch line protocols endangering freedom itself. My sister manages a traditional restaurant in Hanoi, specializes in royal cuisine. American group comes in for dinner, gets seated in our main hall. My sister oversees the service, ensures everything's perfect, but one woman in the group seems troubled. After the meal, she pulls my sister aside, says she noticed the staff behaved differently toward their table than toward a Vietnamese family seated nearby. My sister's confused, both tables received excellent service, until the woman elaborates. Your servers smiled and joked with that family, but with us they were so formal and deferential, she explains. It felt like they were treating us as superiors instead of equals. My sister clarifies that the staff was showing hospitality by being professionally attentive, while the Vietnamese family received familiar warmth because they're regular customers. The American woman frowns, says this kind of class-based service wouldn't fly back home. Every customer deserves the exact same experience, she insists. My sister wonders what automated formula would satisfy this requirement, whether she's supposed to laugh at every table's jokes with identical enthusiasm or treat her mother-in-law's monthly visits with the same polite distance as strangers. The woman then compliments the food while rating the service poorly for being too subservient, apparently unaware that attentive service was the point. I manage a cafe in Buenos Aires, been here since we opened. American man comes in every morning, always tries to engage our senior barista in personal conversation while she's working the rush. She's polite but focused on keeping orders moving. One day he complains to me that she's standoffish, compared to our younger staff member who chats more freely. I explain that Elena is 45, trained in classical cafe service, maintains professional boundaries. He looks at me blankly. What does age have to do with friendliness? He asks. I mention that in Argentina there's often a generational difference in service style. Older professionals tend toward formality. He's not satisfied, says in American coffee shops everyone acts the same regardless of age or seniority, all friendly and casual. The barista at my Starbucks back home is probably 60 and she tells me about her grandkids, he says, like this proves something. I note that Elena might not want to discuss her personal life while making 50 cappuccinos. He suggests I talk to her about warming up, her demeanor, equalizing the customer experience across all staff. I decline to tell a master barista with 2 decades experience that she needs personality coaching from a tourist who's been coming here for 6 days. I work at a vineyard in Cape Town, give tours and handle tastings. American couple books a private session, seems delighted until they notice our head vintner greeting guests at the main house. Why isn't he down here with everyone else? The wife asks. I explain he's welcoming a group of international distributors, rather important for business. She exchanges a look with her husband, both clearly disappointed. We were hoping for a more egalitarian experience, she says. Back home, even at fancy wineries, the owners pour wine right alongside the staff. I mention that our vintner will join us later for the premium tasting they'd booked, but apparently that's not the point. The husband says they specifically chose South Africa to experience authentic culture, but hierarchical operations feel too European. I resist pointing out that Europe and authenticity aren't mutually exclusive. During the tasting the vintner arrives, shares stories about the harvest, and the wife interrupts to ask why he doesn't help with routine tours. He politely explains his daily schedule. She nods but seems to be mentally writing a review about missed opportunities for workplace democracy. They buy 6 bottles anyway. I coordinate events at a banquet hall in Guadalajara, mostly weddings and quinceañeras. American woman books our venue for her daughter's destination wedding, seems happy with everything until she learns about our seating protocol. We have premium tables near the family, standard tables in the middle, and some economy seating at the perimeter. She's appalled. That's so classist, she gasps. At American weddings, everyone sits together equally. I explain that guests near the family pay premium to offset costs for other guests, but she's already spiraling. She demands a seating chart where every table is exactly identical in status, proposes a rotating system where guests switch tables each course to avoid anyone feeling less valued. I gently note that most guests prefer to sit with their chosen companions for the duration of the meal, not play musical chairs between courses. She's unconvinced, launches into a story about her own wedding where they didn't even have a head table because everyone deserves equal prominence. I wonder how the photographer managed group shots, where the bride and groom stood in this radically flat spatial arrangement. She ultimately accepts our layout but requests we remove all proximity-based pricing tiers from the website, as if hiding the information will somehow eliminate the architectural reality that some tables are objectively closer to things than others. I drive a taxi in Dubai, mainly airport runs and city tours. American passenger gets in, asks me about the black cars he saw at the airport with flags on them. I explain those are diplomatic vehicles, ministerial transport. He nods thoughtfully, then says something that still confuses me weeks later. Must be nice living somewhere so small that everyone important can have a special car. I tell him Dubai isn't small, it's a major international city, millions of people. He clarifies. I mean your government is so small that you can give VIP treatment to all the officials. Back home we have too many politicians for that kind of special treatment. I'm trying to parse this logic while navigating traffic, finally ask how many government ministers he thinks we have. I don't know, like 50? 100, he guesses. I tell him we're not giving personal flagged cars to hundreds of people, just senior officials and diplomat. He seems disappointed by this revelation, says he'd imagined a more inclusive version where everyone in government from senators down to parking attendants got identical motorcades. I mention that would probably cause traffic problems. He agrees but seems wistful about the democratic purity of it all. He tips me generously and asks if I've ever met a sheik, seems let down when I say I haven't, apparently expected us all to be on a first-name basis. My uncle runs a tour boat business in Halong Bay. I help with bookings and translation. American family charters a private boat. Father specifically requests we skip the VIP treatment and just give them the standard tour. I assure him that's what we do, show them the islands, some caves, serve lunch. He's still worried, wants to make sure we're not going to defer to them excessively or make other tourists feel lesser. I explain there are no other tourists, they chartered a private boat. This seems to trouble him. So we're getting special treatment just because we paid more, he says, sounding guilty. I point out that's how private charters work everywhere, he grimaces. His wife suggests they could invite other tourists to share their boat, to keep things equal. I admire the generosity while noting that would defeat the purpose of a private booking and probably violate maritime capacity regulations. The father asks if Vietnamese tour companies offer communist-style collective tours where everyone shares everything equally regardless of payment. I mention we're a market economy now, have been for a while. They seem disappointed, like they'd booked Vietnam specifically expecting more socialism in their luxury travel experiences. They enjoy the tour anyway, tip everyone identically regardless of role or effort expended, because they'd calculated what felt fair and divided it with mathematical precision. I work at a train station in Zurich, handle ticket counter inquiries. American woman approaches, seems agitated, demands to know why first-class passengers get priority boarding. I explain that standard practice, they paid for premium service. She's not satisfied, says in America they've been moving away from that kind of class-based segregation. I note that American trains and planes definitely have first class with priority boarding. She waves this off. Yes, but we're not happy about it, she clarifies, as if collective ambivalence somehow changes the reality. She then asks if Swiss democracy includes letting regular citizens vote on railway policies like boarding procedures. I mention that while Switzerland has many referendums, train boarding order isn't typically among them. She seems surprised, says she'd assumed Swiss direct democracy meant people could challenge any rule they disagreed with. I explain there are practical limits to what gets voted on. She nods, but I can tell she's mentally drafting a ballot initiative about equal boarding right. She books a second-class ticket while continuing to advocate for what she calls boarding equality. Manages to miss her train while explaining her vision of a train system where everyone boards simultaneously through all doors at once, somehow not anticipating the resulting chaos. I manage a parking garage in Copenhagen, mostly handle monthly passes and daily rate. American tourist pulls in driving a rental car, parks in a space marked for compact vehicles. His SUV barely fits, hangs over the lines. I mention there are larger spaces available in the next section. He seems confused. Why would size matter? He asks. I explain that smaller cars use less space, so we incentivize compact parking with lower rates and better locations. He's genuinely shocked, says this kind of automotive discrimination would never fly in America. We believe all vehicles deserve equal treatment, he announces. I point out that American parking lots absolutely have compact car sections. He admits this is true but insists Americans resist the classification. He relocates to a larger space while muttering about European authoritarianism. Later I see him struggling to understand our parking meter, which has different rates for different times. He calls it needlessly complex, says American meters charge one simple rate all day. I mention that variable pricing based on demand is pretty standard economics. He counters that it creates inequality between people who park at different hours. I wonder if he also objects to happy hour pricing, off-peak flights, and matinee movie tickets. He pays for 4 hours at premium rate rather than return during off-peak hours, apparently taking a principled stand against the concept of temporal price differentiation. I teach English in Quito, mostly business professionals. Had an American student last year, mid-30s, worked remotely for a tech company. She kept getting frustrated during lessons about formal versus informal address. In Spanish we have different ways of speaking to people based on relationship, age, context. She struggled with this concept, kept asking why we couldn't just use one form for everyone. I explained it's about showing respect through language. She argued that respect should be universal, not tiered. By the end of the course she'd convinced herself that Spanish grammar was designed to reinforce social hierarchies, told me English was more democratic because it used you for everyone. I didn't have the heart to tell her about the historical English thou-you distinction that served the exact same function, or that losing it didn't actually eliminate American social stratification. She gave me a good review but noted that the curriculum should challenge traditional power structures in language. Last I heard she was back in California, probably ordering coffee from someone she considers her exact equal, neither of them acknowledging the inherent hierarchy of the customer-worker relationship. Some inequalities are fine when you don't have a word for them.